doesn't love ratios? I know that I do. And ratios are something that the SAT absolutely loves. They're all over the SAT, and it's something that you absolutely need to know. So we're going to start with the most basic form of ratios and go up all the way to the most advanced. A ratio in general is just showing you a relationship between two things. And so when they tell you what a ratio is, a lot of times your teachers will tell you that you should use this colon symbol like that. But the colon really has absolutely no mathematical significance and really is not helpful to us when we're doing math problems. So I want to get you away from using the colon and back into using fractions, which are our friends. So if we take a look at this first example, all we want to do when they tell us the relationship between two things is set them up as a fraction. So looking at that example, it says, in a certain drawer, I have 5 black shirts for every 4 pink shirts. So we write that as a fraction, and we write 5 black over 4 pink. Notice that I wrote the units here, because on the SAT, as you know, they love to set traps for you. And one of those traps has to do with mixing up and switching around units. So it's really, really important that you stay as organized as possible when you're setting up your math question. So always write down the units of anything that they mention that you're putting into a ratio. So that's the start of the question. Then it asks us, how many pink shirts do I have if there are 25 black? So then we write that as a separate fraction and set them equal to each other, because we know that this is the basic relationship between black and pink. So we can multiply this relationship by any number and get the same exact relationship. So since it tells us that we want to know how many pink shirts, we write X pink, because that's what we're solving for, and 25 black. Before you do anything, the most important step is to check and make sure that your units match. So you check first and make sure that you have black and black on the top and pink on the bottom, which we do in this case. So now we can move ahead to our favorite thing ever, which is cross multiplying. So when you cross multiply, you multiply 4 times 25 and we get 100. And we set that equal to 5 times x. So now we have 5x equals 100. To solve for x, we divide by 5 on both sides. And now we get x equals 20. So when you have 25 black shirts, you would have 20 pink shirts in order for there to be the same relationship or ratio. The next step down into the more advanced or more advanced basic type ratio is when they switch the units around on you. So what we have here equals a switch of the units. So in this example, it says a certain copy machine produces 5 copies every 10 seconds. Then it tells us that if the machine operates without interruption, how many copies will it produce in an hour? So then we set our second fraction to how many copies, so x copies, in 1 hour. So as we remember from the last time, we have to check our units first. And now we have a case where our units don't match up, because we have copies and copies, but on the bottom we have seconds and hours. And if you were to have cross multiplied without checking that and changing it, you would end up with the absolute wrong answer. So before we can actually move on and cross multiply, we have to convert hours into seconds. So we're going to take a second to do that. And what we know is that in 1 hour, that's the same thing as 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, we know that each minute has 60 seconds. So we're going to multiply 60 minutes times 60 seconds. And then we end up with 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So now we're going to get rid of that 1 hour and we're going to put 3,600 seconds in. Now our units match up, so we can then cross multiply. And if we cross multiply this, we get 10x equals 18,000 seconds, or 18,000. So then dividing 18,000 by 10, we end up with x equals 1,800. And that is going to be your answer for that question.